Hillsborough debate at 7 o'clock on Monday in the House of Commons, or does the Tory MP Christopher Chope get his way, and do MPs talk about their own pensions, Andy?
I'm guessing he gets his own way.
I'm hoping
Sadly.
not. Dan Jarvis is the Labour MP for Barnsley Central, who yesterday tweeted that he'd spoken to Nick Clegg in the chamber, and Nick had expressed his views that the Hillsborough papers should be released for everybody to see. Dan joins us now. Dan, good morning.
Good morning, Richard.
Dan, can you update us? What happened?
Well, what happened was I asked Nick Clegg a direct question about whether he supported the release of the uncensored, unredacted papers relating to Hillsborough. And fair play to him, he came out and said, yes, he did. So the challenge now, firstly, is to secure this debate on Monday night, but also to ask David Cameron, the Prime Minister, whether he agrees with Nick Clegg. And I will try and do that later on today at Prime Minister's Questions.
Oh, you intend to offer up a question, do you?
Well, I'm going to do my best to get called. I think it's a good opportunity. Nick Clegg has now firmly put it on the record in the Chamber of the House of Commons that he supports the release of these papers. So the question now is does David Cameron do the same?
And what do you think David Cameron will do, Dan?
Well, Andy, instinctively, I don't think he is supportive because he's had many opportunities to come out and say that he thinks that they should be released. So I will do everything I can to get called today. There are other MPs. Steve Rotherham, who you had on your show yesterday, is also going to be asking a question about it. And we've got to keep the pressure on the government to make them to do the right thing, because it is the right thing to do to release this information. It's the right thing to do for the families. And I think also it was right that Nick Clegg said that when these papers are eventually released, because I believe it's inevitable it will happen at some point, that the families get to see them first, and that's absolutely the right thing to do.
As you say, though, Dan, initially you've got to secure the debate on Monday night. Now, we were speaking to Steve yesterday as news was breaking that might not happen. Can you update us as to why?
Well, what happened was we had a Tory MP called Christopher Chope who raised an objection to the debate. There's also due to be another debate in the House of Commons, believe it or not, about MPs' pensions. And it's a matter of a huge embarrassment to a number of us that a Member of Parliament in this place thinks it's more important to be talking about our pensions than to be talking about Hillsborough. We haven't had a debate in the House of Commons since 1998 about this. The right thing to do is on Monday to have this important debate. And along with others, I'll be doing what I can to make sure that we do have that debate on Monday evening.
I've been Googling Christopher Chope as you're talking. Is this the same Christopher Chope that put a bill in for £880 to repair his sofa on MP's expenses?
I think it probably is the same one, yes.
Okay.
But I think it's fair to say there will be a number of people having conversations with him today, and a number of people will be expressing their views to him in the way that they are entitled to do. And I simply don't understand why he did what he did yesterday. I don't think his constituents will be very happy with it. Certainly many people here are not very happy with it at all. I just don't understand his motivation for doing it, to be honest.
Dan, what's your gut feeling about Monday? Will you end up debating this, or will it get talked out?
I really hope so, Andy. I think it will be a crying shame if Parliament, this place that does much good work but is often maligned because of some of the things that go on here, I think it will be a crying shame if we don't have this debate on Monday. If it doesn't happen on Monday, and I hope it will, and I'll do everything I can to make sure it does, it will happen at another point, because there is such momentum behind this now that we're going to get it to take place at some point. But why wait? We need to get on with it. We need to have the debate on Monday.
Remove yourself from party allegiance, Dan, just briefly if you can, and explain to us why there are some people in the House that think it is right that these documents remain locked away.
I think there will be some people who will say that it sets a precedent that in the future there will clearly be lots more requests for documents to be released. And I kind of understand that argument, but I just think that there is a clear and obvious case for the families. For many of them will still be clearly incredibly distressed by what happened on that day, and I think it's the right thing for them to do to release that information. I don't think that we should be embarrassed about what the information might reveal. It was quite a long time ago now, and I think it is the right thing to do at this point to release it first to the families and then into the public domain.
Yeah, and I think the families, Dan, to be fair, have steeled themselves for perhaps the expectation there might be things they don't want to hear, but nevertheless they've opened their minds up, and that has to be right, doesn't it? Well,
I think at the end of the day, the truth will come out, and whether whether there are things in there that people find uncomfortable or not, I think the best thing for everybody is to get it out there, for the families to see it first, and then for other people to be able to see it. And I think you're right. It's possible that there might be stuff in there that some people will be uncomfortable about, but I just think overall it's the right thing to do to get it out there.
Dan, answer me this. Why would, I'm just sitting here thinking while listening to you and Richard there, why would David Cameron, as Prime Minister, who had nothing to do with Hillsborough, wasn't on his watch, why would he not support Nick Clegg? Why would he not come out and say, do you know what, this is a pretty good thing for these families to find out the truth?
If I was being cynical about it, Andy, and I try not to be too cynical in this place,
No.
we don't know what it might reveal about the then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher.
Right.
It's potential that it could reveal information that would be embarrassing to the Thatcher government at the time. Now, David Cameron has very close links back through to Margaret Thatcher, and therefore it could be suggested by some that he's trying to protect her reputation, and the release of information into the public domain, which showed her in a less than flattering light, would not be helpful for him now. I don't know whether that's true, and I really hope I get the opportunity to ask him a very straight question at 12 o'clock today at Prime Minister's Questions.
Dan, we wish you well. We'll be watching with some interest.
We will be across it, yes.
I suspect by 12:30 you might be quite tired from the amount of bobbing up and down you're going to have to do. But
I'll do my best.
Dan, lovely to talk to you.
Good to speak to you
Thanks,
both.
Dan. Thank you
Cheers.
very much. That's
Bye.
Dan Jarvis, Labour MP for Barnsley.